Hello, all. It's Catherine Ta with Chat with Kat, and today I'm bringing in Keith Mack, aka the husband, my bodyguard when I do showings to random people, and daddy to my babies.
And as you can see, we're social distancing here, so
Yes.
you're on your own computer.
I'm in the basement in my office, and Keith is broadcasting from the kitchen. Woohoo!
Mhm. So proud.
So if you're live on the chat, please say hello in the comments so we know that you're here. I've got a really good lineup in the next few weeks here. So next week, I have a mortgage broker from Calgary. His name is Felix Chan, and I met him a while ago. Well, I didn't physically meet him, but I sold his parents' rental condo in Edmonton like a long time ago. And I've just been following him. He has recently gotten his realtor's license as well. So he is doing mortgages and real estate and just kicking butt. So I've got him next week coming on to talk about mortgages, things to look out for, do's and don'ts, and some mortgage updates. And he might even talk a little bit about the real estate market in Calgary. And then the following week, I've got Peter Lee, who is my financial advisor, and he is going to talk about mortgage insurance versus life insurance. I know if you've been a buyer of mine, you're gonna you may remember, maybe not, that I always tell you to buy life insurance and not mortgage insurance, and he's gonna give us the reasons why. And a lot of my colleagues do that as well, but I don't think every agent talks about that. So I think it's a good idea for you to look at that if you currently have mortgage insurance and maybe not life insurance. It's just something to look at for right now to see what you have. But today I've got Keith Mack, who is an appraiser, and he's going to talk about home values and what he looks for when he's going in to appraise your home. So take it away, Keith.
All right, thanks for having me. Um, I'm glad this is only my top half because COVID probably adds more than 20 pounds on camera now. So, all right. I'm actually more curious to see who's going to be logging in to see husband and wife banter about stuff.
Terrence is here. So,
Oh, yeah,
hey,
he's probably
Terrence.
working. He's getting paid to watch this anyways. Um, Yeah, so I guess I'll talk a bit about myself. I've been doing this now for 15, coming up 16 years. So actually, I'll tell you a story that you probably don't even know about, Kathy. Most people don't know who appraisers are, what they do, and in their whole lifetime, they may never even meet one or encounter one, right? But my first encounter was when we first lived in our condo. I was still in insurance at that time, and we had to get our condo appraised. You weren't there, you were probably working. But this gal came to my house or to our condo, and I was like, man, what you do is really cool because I had an interest in real estate already at that time, much more interesting than insurance. And I was kind of asking her about like, oh, what do you do? How do you get into this? How do you get into this field? Blah blah blah. And I think within months from that time, I got an opportunity to get into the industry, and I took the leap. So yeah, it was my first encounter with an appraiser was already interesting enough that uh, it triggered me to go explore the potential in being an appraiser. Um, so who are we? Who are our clients? The reason why I say most people don't really see an appraiser is because we don't deal directly with the public generally, right? Our clients are typically going to be like we work for, I guess, the lenders and brokers, and the rare opportunity where the general public hires their own appraiser is typically for like divorce settlements, tax purposes, or maybe if they're doing a private sale and they're just trying to get a value from a different opinion, right? So the when lenders request an appraisal, we typically go out. Like actually, backtrack a little bit. Lenders actually do a lot of evaluations through computer generated models, right? At the end of the day, you can't replace a human's eye compared to a computer, right? So sometimes they may meet a threshold or whatever, and then they may send out an appraisal out to the property, right? So when we go out to a house, it's really generic. What we're typically there to just get a feel of the property, where it's located, a view, the layout of the property, the condition, upgrades, quality construction, and so on, right? And generally in importance order, pretty much that, like location. I mean, everyone knows that. Um, the and then the layout of the property is quite important as well, right? The functionality of the home, condition, and then upgrades, right? So the reason why I say location and layout is really important is because those are things that you can't change. They're not really tangible, right? So, but people can always upgrade their home to some degree. They can modify the layout, right? So the walkthrough is pretty generic. Like I said, probably somewhere around 15 minutes, half an hour. Do my thing, take some photos, take some notes, and that's the easy part. And then I write a report, and that's pretty much it in terms of task, right? So some people would question like, oh, how do you get a value, right? Because a lot of times when I'm at a house, people are like, oh, so what do you think my house is worth? It's like, I wish it was something just pulling out of my butt and be like, hey, it's X amount of dollars, right? We don't do that. There's actually a methodology that we kind of go through to determine a value, right? So there's three ways to determine a value for a property, right? The first is called the sales comparison approach. The second is the cost approach, and the third being the income approach. The income approach is typically used for commercial properties, right? Using revenue, expenses, cap rates, and so on, and that will determine the value, right? The cost approach, pretty self-explanatory. We're basically just duplicating replacement costs of your home minus depreciation, slap on the land, and that is your cost approach, right? And the sales comparison approach is primarily what we use to determine your value, right? That's the whole purpose of us getting to know your home, so that way we could compare you to other sold properties in the house in the area, right? And then we'll make adjustments. We'll isolate things that are different between the properties, and then we'll make those adjustments. And then from there, we come up with a value. So as much as I want to just walk into a home and be like, it's X amount of dollars, it's not rocket science, but it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I get that a lot when I'm showing homes and my clients are like, "Oh, what do you think this home is worth?" I'm like, I can't really tell you until I do, actual comparisons, because each home is different, right? So what kind of upgrades adds the most values versus, some people, how some people walk through the house and they're literally going, oh, I upgraded this and this and this. And you're like, okay, that doesn't really add any value. But what does add the most value in a home?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that the answer to that is kind of there's different angles for answering that, because every area is gonna have different expectations, right? So, but you're absolutely right. Like people say that all the time. Like I did a home like a week or two ago, and homeowners like, oh, I spent $20,000 on a chandelier in the master bedroom. That's a car, right? So, you put that into a inner city $100,000 house, you get nothing out of it, right? You put that into a multi-million-dollar house, maybe a little bit, you'll never recoup that, right? But so yeah, there's some things that you get better returns out of than others, right?
All right.
Good thing. Oh, speaking of that, I have appointments to get to, so if I have to cut this short,
You got plenty of time.
I have an alarm. I have an alarm. We're good. So the better way to answer that is, what are the expectations for your area, right? And you don't want to be on the short end of it, but then you don't want to also be so high end that you're pricing yourself out of the market, right? So what upgrades are going to give you the best return? To be honest with you, a lot of it is just going to be like paint, flooring, the things that are visible, tangible, right? Those are things that you can do to your home that instantaneously make it look clean and make it look like you've been the upkeep of it is there, right? So you put yourself in a buyer's shoes, and that's exactly what you look for when you go to a home. You want to feel clean, you want to feel homey,
Yeah,
smell
I
nice,
think
whatever, right?
one of the best things that you could do to increase the marketability is simply just maintaining the home well and having it clean. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. In a market like this, the expectations to have your house stand out by doing upgrades, probably not as necessary. I mean, you also have to time the market as well, right? When the market's hot, I think a lot of people are sitting there with a little bit more urgency in buying a property. So as long as it's maintained, uh, most of the large ticket items are checked off, like shingles, maybe furnaces, hot water tanks,
Windows.
windows, like as long as those are kind of checked off, a lot of people are like, well, the rest of it I can do, right? As long as the main criteria are checked off, like I said, like location and the layout, the functionality of the home all checks out. Everything else is kind of secondary, right? Now, when the market is a little bit more depressed, then you might want to stand out and be like, well, if I can buy A or B, or you're obviously going to buy the one that's much more higher end, right? So, but again, by not pricing yourself out of the market, right? And I'll go through a list here in a bit here. I kind of have a few things that I kind of say are kind of trending and maybe that are going out of style. So,
Or maybe it's something new. Is there anything new in terms of material or like?
I mean, we can get into that now. Like I have, I know a lot of people like to do like top 10 lists or top whatever, right? I just kind of, I can go through like what's hot and what's not, right? So,
Okay.
um, these are based on what I'm seeing kind of trending in the market. I mean, it's a lot of it's not a surprise to most people, right? But so yeah, I'll start off with like the general stuff like flooring, for example. I don't remember a flooring that's taken the real estate market by storm as much as like vinyl plank, right? Vinyl plank
Love it.
solved a lot of problems. I think what laminate was supposed to be, but failed to do because it was not water resistant. The quality was horrible. There's too much range in quality in laminate flooring as well.
Huge.
So vinyl plank is something that you would typically see. I don't want to say entry level home, but like it is offered in entry level homes. But you're also seeing them in a lot of high end homes as well, right?
Yes.
Like it. I have definitely seen vinyl plank flooring in $1 million house, right? So it, like I said, it looks nice. It's durable. It can be cost effective, right? And most of it is. You can get really high end vinyl plank as well, but so yeah, flooring wise, I think that for sure has been kind of the big hit in terms of
Yeah, I agree.
renovations for most people, right? So I'd say like
And it's so
90%
easy
of
to install. It's
yeah, it's
super
a lot.
easy. I've
Yeah,
done
it's
it
a DIY
myself.
thing.
And like all you need is a utility knife to cut them, and it's so easy. I would say it's kind of like cutting rubber kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like
because you probably bought
it's
the cheap
super
stuff.
easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you bought cheap stuff. But anyways, vinyl plank is probably the biggest trend, one of the biggest trends in recent times, right? But getting into countertops, another one that's been really big, of course, is quartz, right? Again, no surprise to anybody here. But the new thing now is something called Decton, right? I know I told you about Decton probably a month ago or something like that, and you're like,
Yeah.
what the heck is Decton, right?
Yeah, never heard of it.
So Decton is basically it's a composite. It does use some natural materials. It does have some glass and stone and whatnot, but it's compressed at a really high heat, so it becomes very, very durable. In fact, more durable than quartz. It is low maintenance. It's scratch resistant, heat resistant, and it's also a material that you can store outdoors, right? So if you're doing an outdoor kitchen, you don't typically would put quartz, right? So Decton is an application that you can put in typically kitchens and outdoor kitchens, right? The price point of Decton is going to be a little bit higher than quartz, right? So at the low end, you got laminate countertops. then you get like your variations of granite and quartz and whatnot, and Declan would be a little bit more expensive than that, right? So that is the hot. What's not hot, the granite has sort of phased itself out because it is a natural stone. It's porous, and most people can't go to a quarry and pick out the slab they want, right? Granite is a natural stone, so you're going to get variations, right? So especially if you have a kitchen island that's really long.
That is the one thing that I sometimes it's like a hit or miss with granite, right? Because you have this little sample that you get to see, and then but then once it comes and gets slapped on into your kitchen, sometimes there's like pretty big variations. You're like, oh, I don't really like that. So it's usually it's fine, but I've seen some where you're like, oh, that one didn't work out.
Yeah, so if you're going to go with the granite, I would go to your supplier and actually pick out the slab, right, and not work off of the sample. Either way, granite is I might see it 1 in 100 homes now for new construction, anyways, right? So that's kind of phased itself out. The next thing for hot and what's not, gas and electric fireplaces, but in a literal sense. Electric fireplaces are actually really, really popular, and they're installed in probably half the homes that I see now that are new, right? There's no preference between either or, to be honest with you. Electric fireplaces can still emit heat. They can still provide, but not like gas, of course, right? But then you get the options of doing like, you can customize colors and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's some unique things you can do with electric. And
so
of
more
course,
for aesthetics than actual usability.
Yeah, exactly. Now the cost of electric, assuming like similar dimensions and style, it's going to be a little bit cheaper than gas, right? But for certain homes, I think aesthetically you still need to have a fireplace, right? And for some people who like maybe have kids or don't care for a gas fireplace, to put in electric fireplace is just a really good option. Railings, railings have kind of, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of options you could typically use. You can use, I guess, wood, glass, iron, and whatnot. But we're seeing a huge comeback with iron now, right? So a lot of the executive homes that you see here, even in the multi-million dollars, you're not necessarily seeing like the glass and whatever else, right? So like the iron rails I'm talking about now are very different from what we've seen like from 15, 20 years ago, where they're very decorative and curly and all that
it's
stuff,
not
right?
the spindles
So so now they're much cleaner, much more linear, and it cleans up the look a lot. And especially when the color trends now are going very black and white. I know it's kind of boring, but it's sleek, right?
Very.
So the whole black iron, contrasting with a lot of the white and light grays of today, makes a lot of sense. And
the gold accents, the gold accents have come back.
Sure, and that works too, right? And speaking of black and white, that's kind of like the kitchen trend too. A lot of people are actually like looking for. I've heard of people like, I want to buy a home, but it has to be white kitchen, right? It's timeless, whether it be like thermofoil, whether it be wood, but white cabinets are still going to be probably near the top end of people's requests if they can, right? Again, it's something that can't be easily changed out or at an affordable cost anyways, right? So a lot of people are like, I just want a white kitchen and call it a day, right? Now you can go two-tone, you can mix it with black and white and whatnot, right? But again, the black and white is just, it's been pretty popular recently. And then going into master bedrooms, I guess this is if you're building new, or if you have an opportunity to revise your layout. But gone are the days where like the master bedroom is massive and then your ensuite is this tiny little shack, right? So nowadays I would say a good almost 50-50 ratio, or 60-40. So the bedroom has to be about 50-60% of the whole entire master suite size, right? People are looking for really big bathrooms, with tubs and showers and dual vanities, makeup counters, and all that stuff, right? So closets is another big one too. I think there's been increasing want for big closets over like a bigger bedroom, right? So there's been sacrifice. I mean, even our last house that we lived in McGrath, we I think we shrunk our bedroom size to accommodate a larger closet.
No, we pushed out we because we custom built it, we pushed out the bedroom so that it was cantilevered to make it bigger because we did want a bigger closet. So I think we did both. We made the closet bigger as well as making sure that it didn't shrink the size of the bedroom.
Right.
Which actually technically after the fact, we really didn't need that. The
no,
room was
in fact, what we should have done
bigger.
was probably increase the size of the ensuite, right? Like I said, even that house we built back in what 2000. I don't know.
That was when Kai was born, I think. So 2010-ish.
No, Kayla was born.
2012-ish. Kayla's
no, Kayla's only known 2 houses.
Oh, okay.
It's one in McGrath.
So 2009,
so like in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So nowadays, I think the larger ensuites is definitely on a wish list. And you know,
I want to do a poll though. I want to do a poll because I've had clients with different opinions. So I want to see the viewers here. What is your preference in terms of where the closet is? A, attached to the ensuite, or B, completely separate from the ensuite. Like from a practicality standpoint, for I think both of us, we like it attached to the ensuite because you shower and then you can go straight into the closet rather than going through the bedroom and to the closet, right?
I think just doesn't like the streak naked across the bed from the bathroom through the bedroom. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
It's too cold.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally prefer the closet to be attached to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But
so poll, you guys, A, attached, B, unattached, separate. So let me know if you guys are joining us right now. I'm talking to Keith Mack, who's talking about appraisals and what is trending because he sees a lot of the new homes. So what's in the new homes is what's currently trending and what people are putting into their homes. And he does a lot of multi-million-dollar homes. So he knows all the new stuff that's coming out and what people are trying and the color schemes. So he's talking to us about that. So if you guys have any comments, any questions you might have, please let us know. Matt said attach. I agree with you. Thanks, Matt. But yeah, please let us know in the comments what your preference is. And if you have any questions, comments, please let us know as well.
Yeah. And when you say like, yeah, I see a lot of multi-million-dollar homes. I do, but the trends actually all kind of trickle down to even your entry-level stuff, right? It's just that the bigger homes are just at a grander scale. But in terms of like, for the most part, style, colors, material may be a little bit different between the two, but they do trickle down, right? So it really doesn't matter where you're buying a $300,000-$400,000 new home or $3 million house. You're still seeing similar trends towards a lot of things that we just
color scheme, but not in upgrades, right? Like
yeah, $300,000 might be a little
home,
bit
you're not going to get those upgrades, right?
Yeah. So yeah. And then like in the ensuite, like we're just talking about, like nowadays you're seeing freestanding soaker tubs over like the ones that are like drop-in, right? That's definitely more trendy nowadays, right? But saying that, so what's hot and what's not. What's hot is the freestanding soaker tub, and what's not are the jetted tubs, right? Not to say that jetted tubs suck. I mean, it's nice to have, but there's no value to it at all now. Because I know back then it would be $1,000 to upgrade to a jetted tub.
That was a selling feature.
Yeah, it was a selling feature. Nowadays, whether it be an air jet tub or a freestanding soaker tub, there's really no distinguishable difference or price difference between the two. I think aesthetically, most people are preferring to have a freestanding soaker tub is what I'm seeing in a lot of homes, right?
In the higher
But
end homes, yeah.
yeah, the jetted tubs rarely, like your
Mhm.
mainstream builders, your high-end builders are not putting in jetted tubs.
Yeah.
Right? And then the exterior, I mean, there's less choices for exterior. Nowadays, it's still primarily vinyl and stone. But if you move up into the higher priced homes, you're seeing, of course, the acrylic stucco compared to
Mhm.
the original hand scraped stuck, like troweled stucco. Um, and then, but we're seeing a lot of a material called longboard. So what it is, it looks
Mhm.
like wood. It's actually metals. It's used for accent purposes. It's almost a commercial grade, commercial looking type of material, right? But it's very expensive. Again, so it's usually used just for accent purposes. But yeah, hardy plank. Hardy plank's been around for probably well over a decade now. It looks like vinyl for the most part,
Mhm.
but it's a composite cement fiber board that's fire resistant. Um, it's much more durable. It looks better, right? So in
I
a lot of
think to differentiate it, it's typically a little bit wider, thicker, wider,
well, why? I mean, if
right?
you want to touch it, vinyl is going to be it's going to be soft, right? Because it's vinyl and but
Yeah,
the
kind of have to
fiberboard,
push it and touch it.
right? But you can kind of see because it's got textures to it. Like the hardy plank will have usually some texture to it. Although hardy panel boards are really popular now, again, used for accent, right? So they're just basically long composite boards that they'll use usually on the front of the home just to
Mhm.
give it more of a contemporary linear look.
Yeah.
And then trends wise, I mean, we can talk about suites. Man, back when I first started, basement suites weren't very common. I mean, they're common in a sense that they were grandfathered because that's the way they were built near the university area. Uh, but I never thought, why would I live in a home sharing a basement type of thing, right? It just kind of weird in terms of flow of the house. But to be honest with you, nowadays, if you don't have a suite in the basement, your house may not even be sellable, right? So
It
uh,
depends on the area.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It depends
And
on
if
where.
you're building, I think a lot of the
Mm,
builders now will not necessarily have the suite done, but um, build it so that the suite is possible
yep,
later on, right? So I
yep,
think that's the big trends with the house prices going up and just affordability wise, it just makes so much sense to have that just in case, right?
yeah. So to give you an example, like literally yesterday, I probably did, I don't know, 4 homes that are brand new spec homes in new neighborhoods. We're talking from Beaumont to Glenridding to Rosenthal. Every single one of these homes, these are brand new, by the way, have a separate side entrance that will accommodate a future suite, right?
Yeah.
And again, even if you go back 5 years ago, this was something that was not, you wouldn't have seen it with a new builder, right?
No,
Um,
like I would say, like majority of the older homes, they have illegal suites, right? There's very few that actually had legal suites, but the rate of the legal suites is really climbing in the past few years. I would say at least 5 years. It like everyone's just going, okay, we'll just put it in just in case. We don't plan on it, but it'll definitely for resale value, it'll definitely add some value there, right?
yeah, 100%. And especially in the older areas where you're seeing a huge demand for them, right? Like a full makeover on a typical bungalow that's like 1,200 square feet or so, you're probably looking at about 120 grand, and that'll get you a full basement suite and a reno upstairs, right? And those are the properties that they're quite desirable now, right? Because they're done newer, so
Mm-hmm.
there's very little maintenance on them. It's got vinyl plank, right? So those properties there are selling typically in the higher end of the price spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then garden suites slash garage suites are slowly taking building momentum. There's definitely been a upward trend towards them, but there's obviously a cost associated with. There's a cost barrier, right? A garage suite will
Exactly.
typically run you at least 150,000 to um, 150 to, well, I've seen some that are like in excess of 250, almost $300,000, right? So that's literally building another house.
Yeah.
And these are trends that you're seeing even in new neighborhoods that are offering these garage suites.
So
But
what's the typical size of a garage suite?
I'd say around 500.
For
Yeah.
is that a one bedroom or a bachelor suite?
I think you're allowed to build up to something around, don't quote me on it, like 650 or something like that. I think there's the maximum size, right? But to
Hmm.
get to that square footage, you almost need to have a triple, or
Yeah.
use your grade level garage, sacrifice some of that for living area, right? So I've seen some where the main floor would have a kitchen and the living room, and then you go upstairs and there's like two bedrooms, a bathroom, and laundry and whatnot, right? So um, yeah, so there's definitely a variation of garage suites that you can build now, whereas like 5 years ago it was pretty much like a box and you're allowed like, I don't know, 500 square feet, for example. That's your max, right? But now I think they've changed the rules a little bit where you're allowed a much larger footprint.
Yeah, yeah. I've recently talked to somebody about a triple garage and putting up roughly 650 square feet, and the cost would have been about 170 to 200 for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty good. But the hard part about garden suites is like they're not found on the resale market, right? There's usually two
Yeah.
demographics of people who are building these, one for extended family and the other for revenue purposes, right? And people who are building that for rent out, they're not selling them because I mean, it's like buying a condo for 150 grand, for example.
But
And
you don't have condo fees, you don't
right,
have extra property tax because you're
yep,
already paying for that property, right?
yep,
Regardless, it's a sunk cost. So like really it's almost just pure profit.
yep. And then the rules changed in the last year or two, where you can actually have three self-contained units on a property, right? Depending on where you are in zoning, of course. So you're allowed to have like your main residence, a basement suite, and a garage suite. So now you're looking at three rental properties three rental units on one property, right?
That's such a huge bonus because I think one of the biggest things before was parking. You had to have a minimum amount of parking, even with 2 units. And now, like, I don't know what the new rules are with having 3 units, but the parking obviously can't be an issue anymore.
No, I think they eliminated some of that, right? I'm not that. Don't quote me. I don't dwell too much into that. If they can build it, then I assume it's legal. Like they can't build it unless it is legal, right? So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, so those are pretty much like what's hot and what's not, in terms of what's trending out there right now. Uh, Things
Yeah,
will
it's
always
totally
change.
changed.
Yeah,
Things have totally changed. So it's pretty neat. Like just really within the last 5 years, so many things have changed. And I know it's like since we've been homeowners, like from house to house, like the trends, our first home was like brown neutral tones. And then, probably in the past, 10 years, I would say it's been like these white and grays, right? I think more grays, and now it's more trending towards white,
hmm,
right? So it's really interesting.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting to begin with. I mean, we're just glad that we're in a market right now where it's a hot topic, and so people are all. I mean, this allows people to be a little bit more innovative and try new things. Whereas I think when the market's like a little bit more depressed, I think uh, builders might try to play on the safe side, right? I don't know. Um,
Oh, I've
but yeah,
I've I've seen quite a lot of different like just going to show homes. Just there's some builders who will just go all out, and you're like, what were they thinking? I mean, it's a little quirky. But I think it's just for them to showcase what they can do, right?
yeah,
But at the
yeah,
same time, sometimes it's like just way out there and it doesn't suit the majority of people, right? Especially when you're looking to sell, that might be a pretty big deterrent.
yeah,
Even something as simple as paint colors, there's some homes where you can see at least 5 different colors. Like to a buyer, they go in, they're like, man,
yeah.
like
Actually,
a lot
if
of
there's
work.
one thing that I recommend to anyone who is selling, this will probably apply to people who older homes is when you walk in, like, you want to see flow, right? So I don't like to go in a home where I can see 5 different, like I just did a appraisal, I think a few days ago, where I have to check on the report, I have to check box what kind of flooring they have. And I swear I checked off like 6 kind of flooring. It was like every room had a different kind of flooring, a different color.
I
That
think they just went to the Home Depot
there's no
every
sale
time.
that week.
They're like, oh, what's on sale?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do this room and this one that's on sale, and then the next room they're like, okay, we'll go back to see what else they have on clearance, and we're gonna do this room and that.
Right, exactly. And for me, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, right? And I don't like to go and see more than like 2, 3 flooring types within a line of sight, right? Sometimes you have to, right? But generally, like 2 is ideal, right?
Yeah.
And that goes
Sometimes
with like paint color as well.
yeah, but sometimes like if you do the basement after the fact, the flooring that you had on the upper levels may not be available. So that's something that, it's not a big deal then, as long as you try and keep it as consistent as possible, right?
Yep. Yeah. That's why I tell people, if you're going to develop your basement, as long as your main floor is still quote unquote current, try to mimic what you have upstairs to your downstairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you're right. Sometimes you have like a 20-year-old, 30-year-old home and you just want to do a brand new basement, right? At that point, you're going to have to, yeah, you have 2 different looks, but yeah, no
Yeah,
choice.
but no one's going to complain about an updated look, right? You're not going to go old school just to match, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But awesome. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't know.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I think we got a lot more than what I thought you were going to come on and talk about. So, and I think we had a lot of
Thanks. This
viewers.
means your expectations was really low, in other words.
It was down here.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's kind of hard. You had some really good guests in the past, right? And I was like, ooh, those are hard to. I'm not trying to top them. I was like, just setting the bar high with out of country guests. You got Eugene from Foam Fighters, Realtor. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then, oh, I forgot to mention, you told me that Ray Campu was going to come on as well. I have to get in touch with him to confirm, but so Ray works at Now Radio.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure what he's going to come on and talk to us about, but
You're gonna love him.
Yes,
More than me.
He has the best radio voice.
Well, we play in a hockey league where we actually have a podcast for our 5-team league. He runs a weekly well, of course, not anymore because of COVID, but he was running a weekly podcast that was like truly top tier production, advertisements, sponsors. It was just
like
one thing.
his own radio show for your hockey league.
I don't miss the hockey as much as I miss his podcast. So hopefully you get him on, because it'd be a treat for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I know you need to get going. Go make us some money.
I'll tell you where to send the check. You can just send the check in the mail.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again. Really, really appreciate you coming on to support me and to give the viewers something to look at, and if they're looking to upgrade their homes, or if they're looking to sell, I think this has been really, really eye-opening for probably a lot of people. So
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I apologize to those who were coming on here to think that we were going to scream and pull hair and beat each other up. But we do that
We got
off
to
camera.
be civil. It's live.
Right. Okay. Thanks again. Good luck with everything.
All right. Thank you.
If you guys
if anybody has any questions, and you're not here live, that's okay. If you're here on the replay, be sure to comment. If you have any questions, we'll try to answer that for you in privately or on the feed as well. So let us know what you need and we'll get back to you. All right. That's it for now. Bye, guys.
Bye.